Good morning, everybody. This is the Hawkeye session. It's Friday, October 23rd. We're going to be going to from about 8 to 9:30. Get the disclaimers out of the way. The trading of foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in the foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objective, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room. It is for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. Any trade taken during this live session is not a recommendation or a suggestion that you should also do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money you cannot afford to lose. Before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies the rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. And having said that, we'll go to the charts. And right now, we do not have any local or recent alerts. The last alert we had was at 6:30 this morning on the US yen. I'll go and pull that one up. Fridays can be a little bit of a slow day, oftentimes, and so we have to be a little bit careful of what we take, be very selective of what we take. One thing I'm going to try and do today, since it's been a while since we've had an alert and things may be a little slow, we'll just sort of go over some of the trade setups that we use, why we do what we do, what we're looking for when we set up. If we get an alert that seems to fit the bill, we'll take the trade. If not, we'll just keep on plugging away with our educational and way of looking at doing these things. This is Open Mic Friday, and so if anybody wants to speak, ask questions, feel free to do so. Just raise your hand. We'll go and we'll turn your mic on and let you ask the questions. If you do have any questions, rather than putting them in the chat, we prefer if you put them into the question answer box so that we can maybe see them a little bit easier. And also that way we can keep a little bit better tabs on it and which ones we've answered and which ones we haven't, so we don't miss any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the clean chart on this US yen. And we're going to start with I'm going to take everything. I'm going to just take this one right from the very beginning, take everything off the chart. So all I do is I have just the price of the candles. Over here, you see the blue vertical line. That's basically the daybreak. And so what I often do is that when we get the alert, in this case, we had one at 6:30. We always get the alerts on a 15-minute chart. I'm going to do a vertical line at 6:30. And I'm going to take this one up right from the very get-go. So here's the alert. I'll make this one yellow, which is what I usually do. And white. Let's do it this way. You got it. There we go. There it is. So I always have the wedge alerts on Friday. And so this was a descending wedge, and this was at 6:30. So basically what we're looking at doing, we're looking at starting from we're looking at the move that it takes from high to low in this direction. Now we don't really know exactly where this is going to be right now, but that's the direction in which this alert was referencing. Now, one thing about it is we had the alert right here. So this was actually the area that we were really looking at. You can see from the daybreak, this is where this at about 5 o'clock in the evening, they stopped trading for about a half an hour, and then for the brokers to readjust their books, and then they open it back up. Even though this trades 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, they'll still do that every day during this daybreak. They will readjust their books. Spreads will go through the roof oftentimes during this period of time. So if you're in a trade, again, if you're in a Euro-US trade and when this closes, when they open it up, you might see rather than having a 1-point spread, you may have a 4 or 5 I've seen as high as 15 pip spreads on certain pairs when they during this day break. So be very careful about holding trades with very tight stops over that period of time, because they could, even if you, no matter you're in long or short, if you have a 7 pip stop, it will take you out, and you probably won't get your target filled. So this was the descending wedge. Now, with the fact it's descending, I'm not seeing where it's actually descending in this area, but it is descending from this area. So I'm pretty much going to use this area as a reference to get the wedge descending and going in the right direction. So I'm just going to move this over here. And I'm also going to be looking to see where we had a nice drop. Here is the wedge. You can see where it's actually ascending in this area, with pretty much of a little bit of a, this thing's actually going in opposite directions, where you actually have a little, if you have a little low here, here's a high, here's a lower low, here's a higher high, and it's kind of going in the wrong direction. So in order to get it going in the correct direction with a descending, you pretty much have to start up a little bit higher. So we're going to have to pretty much start up in here. We're going to have to go to where the alert was, but that's going to be a fairly steep wedge, and I don't really like this part as a as a target. And by the time you get the alert, by the time this 15-minute candle, the alert actually even happens, is already pretty much out of the chute with such a steep angle. Now the target would be pretty much up at this area, which is about where it is right now. If you got in right on that alert, you may have been able to get 15 pips on. Let's see what the distance is between here and here. You have gotten your 8 pips on the alert, but you have been right there, right at the time when the alert came, and you have had to just take it long right there, and you wouldn't have had any chance to really analyze it before you have been pretty much hitting your target. Although with the fact that it's, if you had the alert, I did have a little bit of time there, come to think of it, as I see that. If you look at your lower time frame charts, you can see that you actually probably could have gotten into the trade. You have had a few minutes as it was basing. It basically broke out of the top of this wedge basing. You had your moving averages, or your RSI was relatively high at this time, and the dollar was strong. At the time, you had about it looks like you probably had pretty much a 7 level there at 6.3. You would have been okay to actually take that if you could have gotten in this time, looking at this being the target, being where the B is. There isn't much. There's a little bit of a basing right in here, which you could have had a little bit of a bounce right in this little area where this little doji was. And you can see where that's where it kind of started to bounce. It came right up into that area, it bounced, and then it did break through the top. So this thing actually still has some room to the upside on a pullback, and you would want the fact that it broke this trend right here. I'd be taken up to using this area for the trend. This is getting towards the higher time frame, but this is all the way back from where this thing opened up. This was it opened up for today's day. This was the high for the day, and then over the night, this is all the overnight session, and then it broke down, gave us a little bit of a. You can see there's a little bit of a W pattern right here before the break, and then it went on up to, right now it's tagging where the B was. So this is the overnight lows. This was the high. This origin of this move down came right back up, and it's pretty much, this trade is pretty much, it's done for right now, but it could keep on going because we have the next area that's going to be looking at be up into this, if it's going to be retesting this area here. So what I would be looking at in this is that you'd be looking at maybe buying pull, see if it comes back to the wedge and gives just another reason as this tags the 62 moving average on this 5-minute chart. We're going to want to mark that.
Sorry.
And I'll mark to see where that is so we can reference that on the other time frames other charts that we have. I got a 5-minute 62. So it's going to be right here. So when we look at our 1-minute chart, we can see And that's pretty much referencing right where this break was. So you can see where, when you get both of these areas together, you have the trend line that it broke. You have the 62 coming up. Right now, this is sort of like an energy point right here. This is something that you want to now pay attention to. This little spot right in here is going to be an area that you may want to pay attention to. Because when this price comes back down to this point, tags the 62, it's either going to come back through. And this little area right in here where the two wedges meet, you're going to probably have a little bit of a energy there. And you may, as this comes down, if it hooks, you may want to go back. And this might be a good position, one, to take long once it comes back down and hooks. Let me check something else out here. And yeah, this could actually be a nice little trade right in here. After they had the alert, because right now what's happening is this thing's starting to trend. It retested this area. It may come up, come down, and retest it again. The question is from this area, from this pivot high here on this blue candle to the bounce, and if it comes back and retests it, is there enough room to, because you know that there were some sellers that came in up there. You have 9 pips there to here, it's about 6 pips. This would be a very tight trade to try and take it long, knowing that it bounced right off in this area. It did break the B, but it wasn't able to close above it. And so this candle right here is the area that I'd be looking at to see where it's going to come back and retest it. And that's about all I can say about that one. But as we're drawing the wedges, we'll go back to the original drawing of the wedges. You want to go and look at, see where it is on the higher time frames. I like going back to, oftentimes I'll start with like a 1 hour chart and see where the moves were previously this week. And you can see that it's been making, from way back here on October 15th, it was pretty much flat. And then it broke out a little bit to the top. So but this is the area that this whole move down came from. So we have a strong move down. We're having a little bit of a flag pattern here where it came up, and actually it's really kind of breaking. You actually have a little bit of a wedge. I call it a little flag pattern. And oftentimes this is going to be the basing of this big down move on the higher time frames from a daily perspective. So from the 20th, 21st, for the last 3 days before today, this thing was coming straight down. Now it's taking a little bit of a breather on this Friday. And that's why you may not get a really strong move today. And I'm going to be looking at this trend from here to here and see if we can find a trend line that's valid. And you may see that this may actually have gotten hit on this, off of this move down here where we had the alert. So I'm going to draw another trend from this area. Here's an anchor. Here's a hit. Here's the third hit right here. And actually it broke here. As it broke here, it came up, and now it's retesting this. So this could have been a little head fake to the upside, or this could be the head fake back down to the downside. So you really don't know for sure, but you do know that this was a strong move. This was a flag pattern. And this area right here is going to be significant. The fact that this was the high of this channel, and we're going to draw another channel here. Now this was actually validated as a third hit. So here's the anchor, the middle hit, here's the hit. This one's valid. We're going to confirm that trend line. And now we're going to look and see about from here. I'm going to take this one on up to here. We're going to move this one to this point. And so this is really our higher time frame. And so if I take this away, and you see that here's the anchor, here's a hit, here's another hit right now. This is the third hit to validate this trend line. So right here, this whole area is going to be a real area of indecision, because you have two trend lines in opposite directions coming to a point, and at this point it's going to break one way or the other. So I'm going to use this area as a reference. I'm going to validate this trend line. That's confirmed. And now we're just going to have to see what's going to really happen. This is really where this descending factor came in with this wedge alert. So this is, and so we're going to have to see what's going to happen with this. If it breaks to the downside, I would be looking at a pretty strong move. In fact, this is a strong move. This is a basing area right here. Looking a little bit further back on a higher time frame still to see if it breaks to the downside, where's it going to come on over to here? So I'm going to look at a 4-hour chart and see if I can find something over here that may give us some reason, some indication. And so I would be looking at this area right. This goes all the way back to the middle of September. So I would be noting this area as a target area. Now, this may seem all kind of far away, but it really all matters because you're talking only a few days, and you're also trying to figure out where is the move going to go to. I also would be looking at, with this strong move down, this retracement, I think it could very well come back and break through here. With the Fibonacci retracement tool, we can be looking at this retracement here. And again, this is on a 4-hour or with the 1-hour reference that we were looking at. Here's a move down, here's the pullback up to here. And I would be looking at this zone, which is right back. This is just a little bit deeper than the normal target would be a 1-to-1. So I could see this thing coming down all the way down to this area in here. So I'm going to mark that on the charts. And we're going to be using this for reference as for next week. And this would be another target zone. So I'm going to say this would be a target, potential target. This would be a target. And actually, this would be the first, this would be actually be the demand zone, the first demand zone. So we have that for reference for next week. And I'm just going to go ahead and move these out and lock them a little bit.
Did you take that long there, Al?
No, I didn't take anything yet. I'm just basically it's I haven't taken anything yet.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the higher time frames. Basically, we're just showing what we're doing for the higher time frames, how to adjust the charts. This was a descending wedge, and actually, the only thing I can see descending about this is that this was a nice straight flagpole with a nice little flag pattern. It broke out of the bottom, but then it came up. It's basically retesting this. So this thing could actually be more of a short just by looking at this chart, but by going to the higher time frame. So we're going to go to the 1 hour. Actually, let me go back to the 15-minute chart because that's where the alert was. We drew our trend lines. And so here's the validation, which was actually after the alert. So that after this alert, that validated this trend line because it's now pulling back. Before the alert, we had this trend line, which was validated not here, but actually was validated on the break of this candle right here. So this one was validated to the short side. This one's still valid to the upside. So right now we have an area of indecision. This is the box we're trading in right now. And you don't really know which way it's going to go. Because this could give you a head fake to the top. This gave us a head fake to the bottom, but here was where the alert was. So I'm inclined to believe that this thing, based on what we're looking at with some of our other indicators, that if it breaks to the top off of this little wedge here, this is actually a wedge that I like that is forming now. If it breaks the upside, we're looking at this as our next target. So I'm going to mark that as my next target area because this is where the near hit was. This is the area that's the first hit off of this trend all the way from way back in here. This is the first hit. It hit that, pulled back, came back. Now it's retesting this. If it breaks through, it's going to have to get through this point right here before I'd be looking at it to go up. Until then, I'm seeing it going from, this is the box is playing in, is from this area, which is the overnight high, excuse me, to the overnight low. And this is our reference box that I'm looking at for our range that it's trading in right now today. And once it breaks, now the range here is, you have a range of about 42 pips. So there's plenty of room inside this range to be able to take a trade. But I'd have to be looking at, if it comes down, breaks this blue trend line here, if it comes down, breaks, retest it, you've got room to the downside, I believe. Let's see. But I would be looking at, this would be an area that if it breaks here, you might have the area to come down here. If it breaks the top, you're looking at this area. But this is the overall zone that we're looking at. But these are the references that we're looking at for the trade.
Yeah, no, and I see that. I see something more to the downside. I think this could have been like, as you explained many times, a head fake.
Yeah,
Um, because it's just breaking out enough, but I think it's a teaser. If someone could have probably gotten their 10 pips on that trade on the break, but they had to be right on it. They'd have to be right on the button, like
yeah.
not
You have
sitting
had to get
around.
you have had to have gotten that trade within the first 15 minutes, but even the first 15 minutes, it wouldn't have been confirmed particularly.
No,
So
because you wouldn't have had that extra hit on the trend line.
yeah, so if we go to the 1 minute chart, we'll take a look and see what it looks like on the 1 minute chart. This is the blown up expanded version of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And so I can move this over here to just before the alert to the D. I can move this one over a little bit tighter. And so this is, but now you can see where this is the trend. Now this was validated, right, pretty much on this candle here. That's where the validation came from. When it wasn't up until, actually, it wasn't until this break that this trend line here got validated. In fact, I should see if I can find a point to use for the reference on that. I'll have to go to my other chart. But so anyway, that's what we're looking at right now. So right now we're in this area. We're in the box. We have our white lines, and we're just in the middle of the playground. So you really want to kind of stay out of these middle areas. You want to get it to where you either get a if you get the break on this, you could possibly get enough. You have about 14 pips to the downside, so you could probably get your 7 pips if it breaks the downside. If it breaks the upside, you have a little bit more room to get a little bit more of a trade up here. That'd be you basically have 14 pips to the top. You pretty much have 14 pips to the bottom. So if it breaks, I would have to wait till it breaks out of these blue lines, which is our blue trend lines. Once it breaks out of that, here's the validation of the third here, right there where the arrow is.
Mm.
And so once it breaks out of this area, if everything else, if you have the strength, you might be able to take a trade with this to the, in this case, the we have the U.S. is strong only by 2 on this 1 minute. If we look through the other charts, we'll see that the U.S. is strong by 3, U.S. is weak by 1, strong by 2. So right now, it's not ready to break out. It's not ready to give us any type of conclusion as far as which way it's going to go. We do have a 62, 5-minute 62 right down here, and our moving averages are showing that they're all mixed up here. We have the 62 here, we have the middle. Actually, on the 1 minute showing a pullback. On the 15-minute is showing it wants to go up with a bounce off, perhaps off of the 62. And on our 15-minute chart, we're looking at all of the moving averages are consolidating, and they're inside this blue wedge, which tells me that there's no real clear direction. If I look to see where my 30-minute 62 is, we have to find it. And it's probably, so we have a demand zone down here. Our 30-minute 62 is maybe buried inside that. Let's see.
It's probably flat, Al.
Oh, I don't have it on here. I was going to click that on. So right now, so right now, if you look at this 5-minute chart, everything is right inside the wedge. We have the 30-minute, we have
Yeah.
the 13-minute, we have the 5-minute, and we also have these. So this whole area right here, all those moving averages are all consolidating here. So until one of these breaks, and it could, and what oftentimes will happen is you'll see a strong break in the opposite direction that it's going to go. It comes in here, it goes, it gives that's what I call the head fake. Like right here, it came right straight down, went down a little bit lower, got everybody sucked in, and then it went back up. And so this is the range it's looking at. But right now you have actually have a little bit of a harmonic pattern here. If you have a strong move down, pull back, strong move down, it barely broke the bottom here, and and this is the next big strong move up. What I'm thinking, what's going to happen is it's going to come down, retest inside this box area, which is going to be pretty much this where the top of the wedge, this wedge is the AD wedge that we drew. It's going to come down here, test this, break the bottom, test the bottom of the box, and then it's going to go to the upside. So I would be looking more of a, rather than taking a short, I'd be looking to see if you can get the consolidation down here for it to go long.
Hmm.
You might be able, if I do think if it breaks here, you could possibly get your 7 pips to the downside, but I would be waiting for this thing to come down, have these moving averages pull up a little bit, give the hook, and then continue down. And with a 14 pip space in here, it'll be very tight to get your 7 pips. You have to be pretty much right on the money with it.
So
That would
Al,
be
right here, it would be interesting if it breaks 70.85. So 104.785. If it breaks there, I will take it short. If it
104.785. 78,
104.7
178, basically 104.78.
70, what's the number here? 70, yeah. Yeah, 78, yeah.
I'm gonna look at where our fib lines are and said on the Japanese yen, these fib lines are probably about 11 pips apart on a 5-minute chart. And just double check and measure those from here to
I've,
here. The
I've
line
got a
that's
pretty
11. It's 11 pips.
I've got a pretty strong trend line right slicing through the middle there, and that's the point where it's gonna intersect with the wedge that I just drew and the pitchfork. So
Well, 785 is all the way up here. That's 785, right? Pretty much right in this area. So
wait, hold on a sec.
you're wanting to take it short up there?
70708. Where is it? It's moving
Especially you
too
only want
fast.
the last 2 digits. Don't worry about the third
Yeah,
digit.
yeah.
So 78,
70.
70.
Yeah. Right where it is now. Oh, there it is.
So you're saying as if it breaks here,
Yep.
go short.
That's
Yeah.
a sell.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I think this could very well, I would agree with that because what if basically I want to see this thing come down, break. This is going to be the target area. I'm going to be looking at here. Now, it's going to be what you're doing is you're selling with these coming down. So if you do get in, this blue one's probably going to hook back up, or the you either got the 8 that's going to keep on driving it down. It's going to be a
that.
strong move.
Look
This is
at
going to be a
that,
strong
Al.
move. Yeah, this is
Boom.
going to be a strong.
That's exactly. So my bounce, and I'll tell you why I had that bounce, and I'll show you guys, and I'll show you guys exactly why I said that was where it was going to break. If it broke there, then I would take it.
And the problem is where you get in on a 5-minute chart. If you're going to be waiting for the 5-minute candle to close,
You
then
need
we'll
to
have to
wait
wait
for
and
a
see.
pullback.
You have to wait for the pullback. So let's go
Yeah.
and take a look at the 1-minute chart. Everything's still duplicated here. So we're looking at this. I would like, if I'm going to get in this thing right now, I'm going to have to wait for it to come back and retest the wedge. Now this is our red candle. I need initially on the 1-minute chart, when we first started these sessions 3 months ago, we'd say, I want to see two red candles and then a blue candle pull back to retest the wedge. And then
And
we're in
then
the
you can
trade.
take that one.
Then we're in
Yeah.
the trade. Now, the thing we have to be aware of is that how much room do we have from here to the white line? We've got only 9 pips.
It's not going to come back up, Al.
We have 9 pips to the white line. Let's see where we go in here. This could be a strong move here. The question, where's the target going to be?
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
We need to know where our target is. We need to know where our target is. So our target is pretty much going to be right here at the C level. Initially, this will be down here, and we're going to see what that. I'd be looking at this to be the first target, and with that we may have. And there's our 15 pip target down here.
So I got one target at 63, 104.63. That gives me my 7 pips.
Let's see if I can show a reference. Sell. I'm going to go with a market order here. And we're going to adjust it for a,
Let's see what happens.
it goes 7 pips, stop. Let's go with a 14 pip just to see if we can get any more out of it. So my stop is above the wedge. Now, this was not a very good fill because I was trying to draw this thing out in the process of trading it.
Yeah, but that's a very dominant break. That's very decisive. That's not.
Yeah, that's a nice strong candle. Still looking to see maybe. I said this was the area I said where I marked off that we said this is going to be a deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
And but I said this is going to be the first target down here. This is the origin of this up move. We had the break. This was kind of like the over here. This was kind of like the head fake. I'm not sure how many pips this got. This was early in the morning. This is before we even had the alert. That was a 10 pip move, came back up, went another 10 pips on the other side, and now it's going to come back down, retest this. And from a higher time frame standpoint, as we go back to our 15-minute chart, take a look and see where if there's another area over here for a reference. This is where this blue line was. This was the first hit of the trend that just got broken. So this is the hit that validated the trend line. So I'm going to mark this pivot as a potential target zone, which would be right here. So we have this one, which is we have right here. I'll mark this as a target. And I'll be looking at, see, 104.54 is about what I'm looking for. I'm looking at this as the main target right here. We do have our 62, but right now on our 15-minute chart, we had to break. Everything was consolidated inside this wedge. And right now we broke to the downside and we have all of our moving averages, except the green and the yellow haven't crossed over, but we have the 62 up on top above where the wedge. So this move came up, broke the 62, came back down, but everything was just consolidating. So we're just going to have to wait now and see. And I'm in this trade right now, but we'll look and see where we have, and then we have the yellow green. We want the green down below the yellow, but we want a green, yellow, orange in the direction. So right now the green hasn't flipped over the yellow yet. It should. If this move stays down, it won't take very long for it to happen because we're within a half a pip of each other for the flip on that. So right now it's still basically retesting this break. You'd want to have your stop. Make sure you have your stop above this strong candle here. The stronger it can, I'd like to keep it right at least above that area to give it a little bit more room. I'll give it 10 pips. Give it that extra space. And so right now we have a 14 pip target. I have a 10 pip stop, and could very well possibly take the first profit off at 7 pips, which would be right pretty much down here at the bottom of this wick right here, because this is the area that it got rejected to drive it up to the upside.
Let's see. I have a wandering line from out of nowhere, and I don't know where it's coming from. Settings.
Actually, Pedro has got a, he said he drew his wedge a little bit different because of the alert is a string, and his A is your B. So I was just typing my answer to him, basically just to say it really doesn't matter as far as the shape of the wedge. It's more of a reference point. So if you look at it really quick, you know whether it's the alert was an ascending or a descending, as long as you're consistent.
Look at that. All right. So it's kind of acting like a slingshot right now.
Pedro,
so it's kind of winding up.
It's coming back, retesting the wedge. The safest place to have this, your stop is on the other side of the wedge.
Yeah.
That's the safest place right there. So I'm going to 14, 14 on both. So basically, because we were right in the middle of but we got the break here.
Yeah, we were in the middle of the structure kind of, right, when we ended up pulling the trigger on it. So I see this as a nice pullback. I'm not going to let it come too far against me. I've got a 1 minute 62 there, and that's my stop that I would take myself out of.
See, this is what I like. I like the fact that we had the nice break. These are coming up, and then once we get the hook, if we can get this hook lower than the top of this move, or especially lower than the origin of this break, that would be, because this is the origin of this down move, the origin right here. So it's just coming back up to retest this area. Our stop is still out of the way. And we also have our 30-minute 62 up here. So if it comes back and closes and checks the 62 on this 30-minute 62, I'll be looking at, if it comes up, breaks it, comes back, checks it, and keeps going up, then I will get out of this trade before it gets to the other side of the wedge.
Yeah, I'm not giving it very much room.
Yeah, if this is a valid break, we should have a little bit of a trend off of. I'm gonna use this area right in here for a small little secondary trend line here.
And tag the 1 minute 62.
Let's see, we're gonna make this one just a
And
under the narrow there.
let's see.
And we'll see if this area can hold.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes, Christine.
Just whenever we're finished here, we have an alert on the U.S. Swiss that came in at 8:15.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And I will, as we're watching this one, I'll take a look at that one.
Yeah, I didn't even see that alert at all, or the trade idea. I didn't see that.
U.S. Swiss and U.S. Swiss at 8:15, and that would be
Ascending.
ascending. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice little bounce off of this little trend right here. Everything's still a go. U.S. Swiss 8:15. Yeah, look and see the higher time frame and see where this thing's going.
I'm noticing it's breaching my my trend lines. Every one I draw, it just makes it a little bit weirder.
The U.S. Swiss, I think I'm going to hold off on that one. That one is right now at a bottom that was formed about 3 days ago. And
means it's going to consolidate probably.
Yeah, I think this is a consolidation. In fact, there's nothing at all. If it breaks that, it could go for a long time. But let's see here. I'm going to go. For the U.S. Swiss would have to break the 90.9030 level before I would consider taking this thing anywhere. Maybe take it as a bounce off of that to go higher. But right now, that's the right now the zone. It's in a very let's see what's the narrow zone here. It's trading in a zone between 90.51 and 90.31. So it's trading in a 20 pip zone. Could possibly get a bounce off of that. If we get if it forms a wedge at the bottom of this of that last move, then We may have a trade to the long side.
If it breaks any higher than this, I'd consider exiting the trade because that 1 minute 62 is right there, and that means my entry was very premature. By the time I actually got filled, it was already halfway through the candle. So that was a 5 minute, was a 5 pip 1 minute candle. That was pretty dominant of a break. Let's see what's going to happen here.
If it breaks to the upside off of this trend, you have a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern right here, upside down head and shoulders pattern. And then it could be to the upside, but right now that's, we'll just have to wait and see what it does. Patience.
Yeah, this looks, let's see what happens. Let's see. Move down. Put it down.
That's the thing I like about this right now to the short side is we have our 62, 30-minute 62 sitting above it. And we have our 62 on our 1 minute sitting above it. But right now, everything here is still consolidating on this 1 minute chart. I think there's a good chance it's going to come up and retest this 62. This one held before, but still kind of flatline. But this is the area where it's going to be, this is the deciding factor. If it can pass that blue line, if it bounces off that blue line where my cursor is
74.
at the 74, if it bounces off of that, bounce to the downside. If it breaks and comes back and checks it, then we'll be out of the trade.
Let's see.
You can see where it came down. When you look at this pattern, it came down, passed it, checked it, went
73.
lower. Now it's coming back up to retest the. So this is the area right here where there's a lot of in these where the battle is raging, I guess you could say, from this area here, from here to the bottom, right in this area right here. This is the area that it needs to. It's consolidating. It's going sideways on. So I'm going to use this area as a. We're just going to call this a. Oh, let's just call it a supply zone for lack of a better term, since it's the area that it broke out of.
Let's see. All right, we're up. Now, how bad is that going to be? Or how good is it going to be?
You see this move on this break from basically from here to here. That's our typical 5 to 6 pip break.
I'm just looking for something really specific here. I'm looking for that hook back on your RSI. You see how you got a lower high?
Mhm. You have a lower high, but you also have a higher low on this move here.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one.
Right now, again, they'll just have to wait and see what happens. If it can break through here, we're going to probably
That's the
retest
30
the
minute
top of the wedge.
62, right, Al?
The blue one
Yeah,
right
that
here.
blue one. That you're,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably going to tag that before it does whatever it does. If it breaks that, we'll see.
I think it's going to go higher, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I gotta put
Right
that
now,
one
it's in
on.
a range.
Excuse
Still
me.
it's still in a very tight range.
It didn't break. There was a high a couple candles back. It didn't break that. Kind of failed to break that.
I think it's going to go short.
Okay. I'd like that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's on the 1 minute 62 right now. And
Because I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at this being, for lack of a better term, we have a drop, A, B, C to the retest of the D.
oh yeah, okay. Okay, I see that now. I see what you were talking about. Yeah. And then that's going to be a continuation of that original move. This was
On the way
just
down move.
ABC correction.
ABC correction, come back, retest the area.
Then you can get
And-
1, 2, 3, 4,
and
5.
and then keep this stop up above here.
Because this will be a big move, guys. Whatever's going on here, when you have this much consolidation and this many times where price tries to come and sling back, it'll be a big move, whatever it ends up doing. But I'm still of the opinion that it's supposed to be short. The challenge is that my fill was not great.
Yeah,
So I'm
I got a
taking more heat.
lousy fill.
Yeah,
Again, a lot of times you look for that second blue candle, and then you start bringing the stop, a buy stop. I'm going to put a buy stop in below this candle right here. So I'm going to put, or sell stop in. So I'm going to go with a sell, stop. And if it closes below this strong blue candle right here, I'm going to take another entry here, 70. One thing I like about sell stops and buy stops, it gets you in at the price you want to get in, not what the brokers give you on the market orders.
Yeah.
And my stop is going to be up here. And this stop is going to be right up here around the 75 area.
What do we got here, Al? That rejected the 1 minute 62.
Yep. Now let's go see if the
Comes back into the wedge.
comes back into the wedge. Or if it comes back in, or if it bounces off the wedge. Could be a deciding factor here. I said I want to see it come back and break this blue candle right here.
Hmm.
This was kind of a strong move up, so actually I want to see a break. Let's see, it broke that one, that one, that one.
Yeah. Let's see.
So right now I'm looking at, there's a trend, an unconfirmed trend line from up here to here. This is the unconfirmed trend line. This is not confirmed yet. If it comes back up and retests this, great. If not, it still has the 62 it's got to get through. So it's got a few things it has to get through. It has to get through the 62. It's got to get through this trend line. And we need to get it to close below the, back below the wedge again.
I think we're good as long as the 1 minute 62 doesn't cross the 1362.
This one, this trend line and this parallel is all the same points. That's an energy point right there. This is now an energy point.
And then you got a small wedge forming.
And then if this breaks, there would be a possibility of a target of, oh, let's see here. Based on some random Fibonacci's. If you're looking at this. Oh, that's the wrong way. Disregard that one. We have this move from here up to here and then come on down to retest. If this can break and start breaking this little area, we'll see how high this goes. Right now it's not decided yet.
No. Let's see.
I'm still favoring the short side.
This will be my only trade for today, probably, unless it's a beautiful, unless there's a really nice setup, then this will be the only one. I don't like pushing my stop like I did. It takes away the, it adds a lot more emotion when you start playing with your stop loss. Because if you move it once, you're going to want to move it again, not to take the loss. So I don't like it.
Plan your trade and trade your plan.
Mm-hmm. Much harder done than said. So I'm looking for a rejection at like
See this little area right here.
74.
This little area right here was where we had this. It started trending. We had a nice move up. It started trending down, trending down. It broke through this area right here. It broke through that one. So this candle right here is a critical candle.
Yeah, and it just sliced it. Let's see.
Well, but it's sliced on the way down. So this is an area. This is an area of interest right here through here. All this basing in here.
Yeah.
Came back, broke, came back up. Now it hasn't broken again, but this is an area of interest.
Let's see. What's the RSI look like? Looks like it's back at the top again. And that's the top of my wedge. And if it breaks out of here, it's going to be impulsive.
And right now it's just maybe just be meandering back and forth here.
And that's broken that. Giving a big wick. Let's see what's going to happen now.
And you want to see these come up and you'll see them hook. We have a high. We have a higher high with a lower high. It's a little bit of a divergence there. Not the divergence we're looking for, though.
It crossed. 513 crossed on the 1 minute. So it's underneath. So the 13 is the 13 it crossed on top of the 62.
It's still respecting the 62. They respected off of this candle where the arrow is, and it's respecting it right now. It's right at the 62 right here.
All right. Well, the 30-minute 62 is like glue. So if it, whatever happens on the 30-minute 62, that'll be the deciding factor for me. If it breaks it, comes and tags it again and takes off, then, oh, look at that. What do we got here? Love the 62 at the 30-minute. Now it's bouncing at the 1 minute 62.
Let's see where our other time frame, where the other strike meters are. We're still showing marginal dollar strength here. We want the dollar. We want the dollar weakness is what we want. With the Japanese strength is what we want this right now. And let's see the RSIs and the still hasn't filled my second position yet.
What's your trade at? What's it gonna be? What's your entry gonna be?
On this one?
Yeah.
70, 104.70.
Okay. Oh yeah. RSI looking pretty good now. But let's see. You see how the slow RSI never really got out of that middle zone?
Yeah, it's pretty much stayed
kind of, yeah, it's kind of meandering around. Oh,
let's go back to our 1 minute chart. If it can break, if we can break this area right here, I would be looking at this thing going to this would be the target right in here, which is pretty much right at the top of this trend line right through here. So this would be my target zone. If this thing can break, this thing can get back to break even pretty much, actually. This would be my target.
Let's see what happens. I'm looking for the fast RSI that we're using. I think it's the 8 period, the come back up.
And here would be
there's that cross.
I would have gotten in, except it was a yeah. The
What?
Iwana would let me take another position out, or did it take 2 positions now?
I think it did. Sometimes it takes 2. You got 2 orders in?
I got filled here.
Yeah.
And this one is a little bit different now.
There we go. Now we're back into that same zone we were in. Here we go, Al. If it makes a lower low, then we're in price, then we'd be pretty good.
I could see a bounce off of the 66 level.
Yeah.
Let's see where our fib lines are here.
See if I can do something. Gotta clean this up. I've got too much mess on my charts.
So here's where it bounced off the blue zone, and here's the next blue zone down here. So this would be a real potential target. This would be let's see, what is that? We're on here for 2 minutes. Let's make this a 5 minute. So we're going to highlight this a little bit.
I don't like that.
And it's right at 9 o'clock. We'll see how the 9 o'clock pans out here.
Mm-hmm. Let's find out.
Coming up to retest the wedge. Nice strong move down. So yeah, strong move up is sort of meandered on up. This is a little bit of a secondary trend. Here's an anchor, here's a hit, here's a hit, here's a hit, and break.
Let's see if it rejects off your trend line. Oh, it's just not panning out today, Al.
No, part of the thing is just that struggling to follow through. The thing is, you never know when it's going to follow through and when it's not. You just protect yourself as best you can and give it the wiggle room to make the decision to either going to break or just, it could just meander through this whole range all day today. Or it could break out in the next 5 seconds. It could break down and give us our target. We just never know. But you want to be ready for it. You want to be in it. You look at the patterns. You plan the trade, and sometimes it works. And have a plan that works most of the time. Basically, our plan works about 65% of the time.
Yeah, I've got
That means 35% of the time it doesn't work, but you keep your losses short and you keep your profits bigger than your losses and you'll be fine. Trading is a skill of understanding the probability factors, and we're doing that by what the pictures look like. You try and look and see, trying to get a picture, try and see the picture, and then let the picture tell the story. Now, as long as this trend line stays valid, you're still way, as this thing slopes down, you're getting further and further away from where your stop is. So right now your stop is out of harm's way. It's in an area where you accept the losses if it gets up there, but we should be able to get, it will give us it will change the picture before it gets to that point, in which case then if it tells you the picture that is, you have an idea in mind. So our idea is that we have a flag up here, it came back down, and it's going to start trending. Here's a high, here's a low, here's hopefully the lower high. If it starts getting a lower low here, now you're starting to trend. Right now it's you have strong move down, strong move up, or a meandering move up, I should say, to a new high, to a lower high. But right now we have a little bit of a wedge going right in this area right now. We have a high, a low, a lower high, and now we have a higher low. If it starts breaking this higher high, we're out of the trade. But even so with this, even if it comes back up to here, it's still a lower high from here. So really, as long as it doesn't break this, we're still good for the trade. And that's why my stop is up here. If it breaks that, then the whole system is falling apart by that time. But you can see if it's going to start trending. If we have a high, a low, and if we start getting a higher high off of this, then it's going to start coming up to retest this slope. But right now, it's still been, every time it's come up, it's respected the 62, the 30-minute 62. Plan your trade your plan. Right now, it had a anchor hit, confirm this one. We had an anchor, a hit, confirm this. Now, so that tells me that now we have a lower low. So now it's trending inside this area. Even if it breaks, we're looking at the D, where the D is now. This is where the last validation of this was. So it should not break the top of this yellow trend line. Here's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the third hit. This is going to be the point where it hit the trend line. Now the question is it going to break it or is it going to hold? And that's right at where the 62 is. So this trend line now is now valid. It's confirmed. We had the bounce. Now it's confirmed. Now if it breaks, the trend has been broken. This one has been broken on both sides, so this one's really no longer valid. And so now we have a new trend that we're looking at here from the C, where the C was, coming up to here. This one's not valid yet. If we can get the break below here, this one was the anchor. Here's the hit. It has not been validated yet. And that's right where my entry is, or where this, where my break even is on this trade. And we're having a little, we can adjust our wedge here to the low, a high, higher low. There's a second hit. This has the third anchor, hit, validated the top of this. This is valid, this is valid. So this supply zone, if this supply zone gets broken, I'm out of this trade. If it breaks the top of this trend line, I'm out of the trade. And if I get out too early and it gives me another reason to get back in, then I can always go back in the same direction. But I'm protecting my my trade. So you have 2 points. We have a valid line off of this upper trend, anchor, hit. This would be the validation point. This one we're still waiting to validate.
I'm still here. Just quiet.
So right now we have this little zone right between here and here. When this 30 minutes 62 is just flatlining this, as long as it keeps holding, we're good. Once it gets breached and it starts curling on up, that's going to be where you know you've got something that's you've got to change in direction. And this is oftentimes why we don't take trades on Friday, because it takes, I mean, this thing has been going on for almost an hour and a half. Actually, the alert came out at 8:30 or 6:30, and it's almost 9. So actually, it's been more than that. This alert came out over here at 6:30. So this trade has been going on pretty much ever since for the last almost 3 hours. Now we did get the break here, but came right on up into. This was only like a 6 or 7 pip move, I think, is what that was. From here to the break, 12 pips. So it stayed within a 12 pip range for the last 3 hours. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Any suggestions? Any thing they want to ask? We're going to be done here in about another 15 minutes. If it breaks this upper trend line, it's going to break right up into this trend line. So we'll see if it's going to retest the top of the wedge, just like this area did. So this has now been broken. But this one's still valid. And so really right now, there's no reason to be jumping in and out. What you're doing is you're just taking the the trade. You're still inside the zone, inside the wedges. And what I am looking at here with this is a possible.
Oh, wow. That was enough to scare the snot out of me. I was on a phone call with a buddy of mine, and that is going to be my exit if it doesn't. Yeah, I'm out of here. Not playing with that.
I'm going to take my stop. If it's going to stop me, I was going to take my stop. That's right. At that.
I may take a sell, but I'm going to make sure that this is right. I was just on the phone with one of my trading buddies, and it was a good call. Let's put it that way. Let's see that big rejection wick off that top. My trend line's a little bit different than yours, Al.
Okay.
Just a little bit different. I actually like this. This is, let's see. That's a nice rejection on mine. And I think that's the third hit. If it is. Yeah. Yeah. To the wick.
So you're going to take go back in short, or are you going to get out to go long?
I'm gonna wait. No, I'm already out. But we got a dominant 513.62 cross here. I shouldn't have taken the call. I was distracted by what he was talking about. He was sharing some very good information with me, and on his way to work, he was supposed to call me yesterday, and he never did. So I wasn't gonna miss his call. Yeah, well, remember I promised you that we would set up some time and talk with him. Well, we'll try and get something done this weekend.
Okay.
But that is
So right now we had a pass and check. Right now this is the strong move down, and what we did was I put a pitchfork on from the A to the bottom of this trend line right here. But now see, actually, if I go to where the C was, put it like this, we're having a bounce right off the median line. That's a pretty steep pitchfork.
Yeah, little.
Actually, I
You
kind of
got a
like
big W right here, Al. You got a big W.
I kind of like this trend line down here actually a little bit better.
Yeah, but you got a big W there.
Yeah.
Big. That's a monster. Actually, I like what I saw, so I'm waiting for one more thing to happen and then we're good. So we'll see. That here. Took 2 stop outs today, but that's just par for the course, right?
No, we try not to have any, but we would be patient.
It is what it is. Not full stops. I took myself out manually, but so what time we go until today, my friend?
9:30 today.
Okay, so we got another 6 minutes.
I'm still looking at the target of 104. This target down here, actually 104.60. Actually, looks like 104.68 is more the target right now. Which is just about where we got in at the first time.
Yeah. These candles are small now. Excuse me.
Now here's the pass, here's the check. Keep in mind we're on a 1 minute chart, so that's still
Small candles.
yeah, I think I'm going to exit this trade.
Did you see something I didn't see as your? Oh yeah,
I'm
that cross.
Just looking at nice cross pass, checked it, and so
Oh yeah, it's closing on top of the 62.
Yeah, so I'm out.
Um,
Yeah, I'm going to be out here too.
Let's see. Excuse me.
And we also had a break of this trend line here. So this one's no longer valid. This one's been broken to the upside. This wedge has been broken. Top has been broken here. In about 1 more minute, the market's going to open up and we'll see what happens here.
Why does my stop loss keep on disappearing, man?
Thing is, you're looking at only a price move of 3 pips. And so from there to the bottom here, it's only been 10 pip move for the last 41 minutes. So it is starting to move a little bit faster than it was.
goodness, my throat's so messed up. Didn't get a whole lot of alerts today, but
Well,
you know what's going to happen
at
is
least we got some.
market's going to be closing up for the week, and we'll be getting a ton of alerts as all of price consolidates.
So it's 9:30. Market's just open. We'll give it a few more minutes here and see if there's anything that develops before we go. U.S. CAD trade 9:30. We have a U.S. CAD alert at 9:30.
Oh yeah, it's true. We didn't even look at that.
And that was a ascending wedge.
Was that?
It looks like it wants to break to the upside. Strong move down. Looks like it's retracing part of that trade. That US CAD. So anyway, on the US CAD, we had a alert at 9:30, pretty much at the market open. It was ascending. I'll just draw this out real quick. Ascending, start at the bottom. Low, there's a high. Here's the next higher low. Here's a flat top on the high. If it breaks out, it's coming on up to the.
That's nice on your chart, Al. I like how it's playing
On the US CAD?
Yeah. That looks
It
nice.
looks like it probably looking to be touched. If it breaks the upside, you're probably looking at a tag to the, that's 13 pips.
And if it bounces off the top of that trend line and rejects with a nice wick, a person might want to be looking at right down. Excuse me.
We do have a little drop, base, drop. So retest didn't come quite up to the base here. So we got this little basing area right in here. This would be supply. Not a lot of it, but it's there. Came up, here's the wick, wicked right up into it on the alert. This is the alert candle still. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you everybody for coming in, and we will see you on Monday. Take care. Have a good weekend.